Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of For All Ballerz. I'm your host, Al Root II. Today we have another special guest with us, Mr. QB1 for the Mercer football team, Carter Peevy. Thank you for being on the show, Carter.
Hey, what's up, Al? It's good to be here, man.
And it's really a pleasure just to even have you here on the show, bro. But Carter, on the show, I like to go back, to your high school years, right? And then just work my way up to really what makes Carter Peevy, right?
Uh-huh.
So going back to high school, right? Coming out of Archer, right?
Correct.
Didn't have many offers. I looked at you 247, bro. You have no stars, none of that stuff, right? And then before, we talked a few times about how you only had 3 offers, right?
Yeah.
And the one of the offers you did have was from Lenore Ryan, right?
Correct. Uh-huh.
And that's where Coach Cronick was at.
Yeah, that was my first. That was actually my first college.
That was your first offer.
Yeah.
So what were your other 2 offers?
So this is bad. So I got my first offer from Lenore Ryan, and then it was a small D3 school in Kentucky, and then I got an offer from Shorter at the last moment. And then my 4th offer was Cronick after he moved to Mercer. He called me a day after he got the job here. So that was my 4th offer, but 2 of them were from Cronick.
Dang, so that's kind of similar to Isaac's story, right?
Correct.
Yeah, exactly.
We had very similar stories, but 2 kids out of Gwinnett, probably about 45 minutes from each other. Mm-hmm. And we both just didn't get much recruiting. Whatever reason that was, I don't know. But yeah, Cronick saw both of us and offered us both at his old school, and now he's here and took us with him. So it's kind of funny how that works out a little bit.
It is funny. But when I heard you talk about how you didn't really understand why you didn't have many offers, right? Because, you were Gwinnett County's touchdown club quarterback of the year, right?
Yeah.
And, Gwinnett County is one of the top football counties in the whole country, right? And to hold the weight of being the man, essentially, or one of the top guys at the quarterback position in Gwinnett, and to not have many offers, what was going through your mind at that time?
Well, I remember a specific, I don't know, I never, playing college football, this is going to be a surprise. Most guys are like, college football was my dream and whatnot. But I don't know, college football was just kind of the next step for me. Like, I didn't have dreams at night of just playing college football. Now, like, I watched it on TV, I thought it was awesome. And if I ever got the chance, I would be like, yeah, let's go. Mm-hmm. But I was not worried about getting college offers in high school. I loved high school ball so much. I had great teammates, great coaches. My dad was on the staff. Like, I was just trying to enjoy that. So when offers came, I was like obviously thankful and I praised God for it. But at that time, it was not the end goal for me. I wanted to play high school football as long as I can because I enjoyed it so much. But I'm very thankful for the offers that I got in the position I'm in now.
Definitely. So for you, I feel like a lot of young people that play football, everybody wants to go D1, everybody wants to go to the NFL. But for you, it seems like football was a stepping stone for your other dreams and desires. Am I correct?
Yeah, well, I still don't really know what I want to do for a job one day. Now, if obviously most football players, if the league comes, it's like, heck yeah, they jump on it immediately, and I would be no different. Mm-hmm. If that came along, I would jump on it like that, and I would take it as far as it could go. Now, I'm a very realistic person as to where I'm going to work as hard as I can to get there. But if that doesn't work out, whether it's health, the wrong opportunity, mm-hmm. whatnot, I have other plans that I will be more than willing to capitalize on. It's not like if I don't make it to the league, my life is over. Mm-hmm. Like, football is just a thing in my life, and it's very important, and it builds incredible relationships with your teammates and other people, but it's not the end for me.
Right. Yeah. And I love that for you, man. You may not necessarily know where you want to go in life as far as, your career. Mm-hmm. You can have your plan A, plan B, but I feel like just hearing the fact that you want to work so hard to where whatever happens is great.
Well, I feel like if you're so worried about the end goal and making it to the league, there's going to be so many moments that pass you up, whether that's a post-game victory, a bus ride home talking with your boys, locker room time, even the practices. It's hot outside. You're miserable a lot of the time. But there are some moments.
Right.
There are some fun moments out there in a water break or like in a certain drill that's not just dogging you that you will miss one day. So, like, I just try to focus on what's in front of me because, like, I don't know about everybody else, but when I start looking too far ahead, Like that just, I don't like that. So
Yeah,
I just
man.
like to look right in front of me.
Exactly. Coach Saban was talking about how Mark Ingram would be really nervous before his games, right? And how Coach Saban would tell him, "Be where your feet are," right? Because if you are where your feet are, then you're not worried about what happened before, or what's about to happen later, before the game or after the game.
Can't worry about nothing else.
Exactly. Can't worry about nothing else. And so, moving forward, right, to your freshman year, man, you already know what we're about to talk about, man. Freshman Player of the Year, All SoCon as a true freshman, lighting the country on fire alongside with Isaac Dowling on the other side of the football. But, I mean, it was your offense, man. As a quarterback, you had the weight of the team on your shoulders, right? And that's a lot typically for an 18-year-old. But how was that for you?
Well, I look at it coming out of high school, like you said. I wasn't highly recruited at all. Didn't, like you said, my 24/7 page was sad. But so coming into college, I was just like, I felt like I barely made it in the Division I level. So I was like, you know what? I'm at the bottom of the chain right now. So all I can do is work. Whether that was, I came in at like 194. I'm about 215, 217 now. But came in, got in the weight room, started running. COVID, before I got to college though, COVID was actually really good for me because I just got to work that whole time. I didn't have to really worry about school or much else because we just stayed at home. So I was able to work that whole time, and I got to Mercer in August. And obviously I had a learning curve of the offense, different speed. It was not as big of a difference as I thought it was going to be, but it was really just more like mental than physical for me. I had to learn like different coverages, post-snap adjustments, obviously a whole new offense.
But that whole new offense thing.
Yeah. It's crazy,
team, man.
But obviously that's changed a lot. But that fall semester was obviously really weird. We played 3 games. I played against Army. I completed my first pass, and then after that, nothing really else happened. It was late in the game, and Army held the ball a lot. And then after that, after that fall season, we had our exit meetings and stuff. Okay. And Chronic was like, I really like where you're at right now. You've made progress. I really like to see you play in the spring. Well, I don't really like listening to too much of that because I like just, like you said, be where your feet are.
Exactly, set you up, man.
And I just kept working, and then we obviously got into camp. I don't know how far you want me to go to keep going.
Oh, man, you can talk about it, bro. Yeah. Talk about it, man. Okay.
Well, we got into that spring-fall camp, and that was camp number 2 within probably 4 or 5 months, so that was crazy. And me and another guy were battling out. He was a
Don't just say another guy, man. That's Harrison Frost, baby.
Me and Harrison Frost were battling it out.
Oh man, I'll say one more thing real quick. A part of that story is that Harrison Frost is doing extremely well for himself as well, right?
Yeah. So I mean, Harrison had some good games in the fall. Obviously, it was a learning curve for everybody because the new offense. So he wasn't put in the best situation. Harrison is a very good quarterback in my eyes. He's very mentally sharp. He throws the ball really well. But I think what happened that spring was we went into camp and we were pretty much even. And Chronic saw that, but we had some deficiencies in other positions that we needed a mobile guy in there. And Harrison's a great quarterback, but he can't outrun nothing. The guy, I mean, if you put him in the pocket, he's going to read the coverage every single time. But you ask him to run, do anything mobile, and that's where he lacks a little bit. But now back then, I was the opposite. I was missing here, but I had mobility.
Yeah, that's when you just out there just throwing it up in the air, man. You was a Hail Mary quarterback.
So a lot of the spring, well, me and him split that Wofford game. Well, I'm sorry. We were going into the Wofford game, splitting it, and then Chronic, I had thrown a scramble drill play to my roommate, Ethan Durham, at the time. He's now at Georgia Southern. But it was probably a 30-yard play, and I think that was the play where Chronic was like, okay, this kid's legs are going to help us because right now we were having trouble pass setting for as long as we needed to. So I think the mobility played into that. Also, I was younger, and it was a COVID year, so it wasn't like it was important, but it was not like a fall season where it was just like you got to win right now. So I think that was he kind of used it as a scrimmage year, wanted to get some reps under my belt. But yeah, that spring was kind of crazy. It got cold to hot instead of hot to cold, so that was weird. Like,
but I mean, I feel like honestly, you're kind of selling yourself short as far as how you're telling about how that spring season went as far as for you. I mean, like, brother, you did some incredible things that spring. I mean, you took Mercer to his most SoCon program wins in its history. And then didn't you have the most passing yards in a single game against Furman?
Yeah.
Was it 404 yards?
I think it was 406. But yeah, no, like when I talk about this stuff, like I like it's not just my ability that led us. There were a lot of things in there. Obviously, God allowed me blessed me to have that season.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, looking back on that season, there were some really rough games in there. Like that Wofford game was tough. I remember me and you were in a mesh, and I was trying to pull it.
And I was trying to
you
hold
were
on
trying to hold on to it. We fumbled it, and
Yeah.
Chronic was over there like, "What'd y'all do?" And I was like, "Coach, I don't know. We're both freshmen. What do you want from me?"
Right.
But that was tough. But then yeah, you get to the Furman game, and we end up throwing for 406. I think 2 touchdowns, and I ran one in. So that was kind of the breakout game. So that was the funnest game I've played in college so far.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then you play several other games that are really solid. I had to do a lot of running around. We struggled in certain areas. I remember Ty James was there, and I had a really good connection with him. Obviously, Deveron Harper wasn't there at that point. We could have used him.
Isaiah.
Yeah, we had
Ethan.
And Ethan Durham was there.
Right.
So we have some pieces that are missing now. But yeah, looking back on that spring season, it was really tough. I was battling like a bone bruise in my knee. I had landed on the sideline marker when I got shoved out of bounds, and it hit me right on the knee. So that was bothering me. But I mean, I just look back on that, and I'm really glad it happened. But after that, the theme of my story is just humility and knowing to accept your role in times where you're not. Yeah, when you're not in the main stage. Like, we go back to high school real quick. I started half of my freshman year, and then God blessed me with the healthiest high school career ever. I played 42 games in a row, and there was not one thing wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
So growing up, I was like, well, I'm always the center stage. So like, I was always one of the, I guess, main characters on the team.
Mm-hmm.
In my freshman year of college, I kind of got thrown into that too. So I was like, oh, this is easy. Like, anybody can just walk on and play or anybody can just come in and play on a college football team. Well, what do you know? The next 2 years, I played less than 10 snaps.
Right.
So it's been this is the first time in my career where I've had put in the back, I guess not in the spotlight.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a lot to deal with from a kid that never had to deal with that. I wasn't getting any attention. I wasn't getting to play. I kind of felt like I didn't really matter on the team. My attitude was not very good, and I think the team saw that. But that second year just was a struggle for me.
Mm-hmm.
But then this past season, I felt like I completely flipped the script.
Yeah. So what was it that during that moment of feeling like, dang, like the team doesn't necessarily, or not necessarily the team, but kind of feeling shunned in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Feeling like your back is against the wall after feeling like you're on top of the world, man. Not having to deal with as much adversity football-wise, and then kind of feeling like everything was just snatched away from you at the peak, in your mind, in the peak of your career, right?
Yeah, well, that's actually a really good way of putting that. I felt like when I got benched, and I was battling, I actually had sports hernia surgery that year, you remember that.
Mm-hmm.
I was battling a hip problem too, that was all connected. But during that time, I just felt it was feelings of like betrayal almost, because it's like the coaches and the players, even though they didn't, in my mind, it was like they turned their back on me.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt like everything I'd done beforehand was unappreciated. But now, looking back on it, I mean, somebody in life, somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. Mm-hmm. And I was not used to losing. So I think learning how to lose is very important. Learning how to win is also important.
Right.
But it's learning how to lose and take defeat and still be the same guy you were when you were winning. And that is probably the biggest lesson that I learned over the last 2.5 years.
Man, and that takes a lot of maturity and a lot of growth.
Oh yeah, I mean
to get to that point, man. Like honestly, because you were thrown into that fire 18 years old. You know, you're 22 years old now, man.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that doesn't just happen overnight, you know. And when you speak on, you know, maybe the team saw, yeah, we saw it, man. Like, it's not no secret.
No, I know.
But I mean, the ability for anybody to have to deal with something like that is going to be hard on. It's going to be hard on anybody, right?
Yeah.
But for now, like you said, you dealt the adversity. You know, you played your role. And then you were able to redshirt your junior year or on the field your sophomore year.
Yeah.
But now it's your time again to show the league, show the conference, show the entire country what Carter Peevy is about now. So with that, what is your mindset? What are you doing to help change the narrative physically and mentally? What is Carter Peevy doing to be the best he can be right now?
Well, in my mind, right now, obviously, there's a lot of excitement because I haven't played in 2 years. And obviously, no matter how hard you work, you're going to get better from your freshman year to your fourth year. But I've put a lot of work in, especially this past year and like this spring and summer. I've put a lot of mental work in. Like last year, I was locked in during the games, seeing if I would have done anything different than what Fred did. There was a lot of stuff that he did great that I was like, that's exactly what I would have done. There were a few times where he did something, I might have done something else. But just being able to learn from him, Fred played really well last year, so that was good to sit behind him. But physically, obviously, I'm about 20 pounds heavier. I feel like I move really well for my size, throw on the run. But when it comes to the on-field stuff, like right now, everyone's like, I've been told several times, I'm so excited to see what you can do. But in my mind, I just kind of block that out because I don't want that to set me up for failure. Like right now, like I'm just a bunch of potential. Like there's been so much time between when I played and when I didn't play that I'm a whole new player than I was back then. There's still some things that are the same, but my whole mindset has shifted. Like being able to mentally understand the game is just become so much more important to me than just going out there and like winging it.
Right.
So I think that I do have a lot of potential. This team has a lot of potential, but it does no good to I don't really like thinking about it right now until we can go show it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then also being a quarterback, right? The weight of the team is on your shoulders, you know? And after being in college for 4 years, how are you handling those pressures of knowing that win, lose, or draw, I mean, everybody's going to come back onto how the quarterback played, you know?
Oh, yeah.
You haven't really necessarily played significant minutes since your freshman year, which obviously was your best season so far, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And so after having played since your freshman year, how are you planning on handling the weight of the team?
Well, let me just put it to you this way. We've got 11 players on the field at the same time, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you look across the board, our O-line is pretty much the same. We've got Ty and Dev back. We've got you back. Who is the only position that has changed from this year to last year?
You.
Me.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, when you think about it like that, there's a lot of pressure because it's like, well, if y'all just drop off, then it's got to be Carter's fault because he's the only position that's changed. I mean, Ty and Dev are All-Americans. We've got a good offensive line, good running back. So if you look at it that way, there's a lot of pressure. But I see it as a whole unit. And over the summer and fall, because the team resets every year. You can have players that play great one year and the next year they lack production. Mm-hmm. But I think if you look at it as an entire unit and the unit just establishes a flow and a connectivity over the summer and fall practice, I think that takes the pressure off of you because you're not the only player on the field. Yeah, I have so much talent around me with Ty, Dev, you, AD, offensive line. You got Parker Roble coming back. So all of you guys make my job a lot easier. And without y'all, I couldn't do it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what we can do. I think we'll look a little different this year because I can do some things that Fred couldn't or that he didn't. I'll probably scramble a little more, move around, maybe run a little quarterback run. But fundamentally, we're going to hopefully be the same team we were. Hopefully we can stay healthy throughout the whole year, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what we can do.
Definitely, man. So what is what does that leadership role look like for you?
Well, for me,
Oh
no,
what does that leadership role really look for you after 3 years? After going into your 4th year of college football.
Well, I think the guys look at me as a leader because I believe that 95% of the people that were in my situation played their freshman year, did relatively well for a freshman, and then got replaced, would have probably left. So I think that a lot of guys on the team respect me as a leader because I stayed and showed loyalty to them. Because, it's not just loyalty to the coaches, to your teammates too.
Right. Because those are guys you out there battling with. Those are your brothers, man.
Yeah, the coaches, they're there to coach you, but it's your teammates that are hurting with you. They're breathing heavy, they're sweating, they're bleeding. So it's those guys in battle with you. So I think I earn their respect that way. But also, I'm a big believer in, positive leadership. I'm not that leader. I'm not just going to sit there and just publicly humiliate somebody in front of everybody. Like if you make a wrong cut, I'll be like, hey, Al, this is what you did, but I'm going to do that in private. Now, there are certain cases where, based on personality, where if somebody needs to be
get checked
in front of everybody, that can be done. But that's not my natural thing. I don't really like doing that. I like pulling the guys aside, giving them that one-on-one connection. So it's like I'm actually talking to you and not just the running back. I'm talking to Al Wooten. So I like to be just a positive leader. I really like talking to my offensive line. I love taking care of those guys. In practice, this is just something small, but they'll be in their 3-point stance, and a coach will stop the whole practice to talk to one player on the outside. Well, I know that they don't want to be sitting in that 3-point stance.
Right.
So anytime I can help, I can stand them up and just give them a breather. I like to take care of those guys. I make sure to thank them constantly for what they do because they make a lot of sacrifices for you and me.
Definitely.
They don't get any glory while we're running the end zone. I'm throwing it. They're sitting there fighting their tail off just to keep the big guys off of us. So I like to take care of them. Obviously, the outside guys, I just like to keep encouraging them because I like to just keep everybody out of their own, because everybody can get down on themselves, and that's good sometimes because it's a reality check. But if you take it too far, that's when you lose confidence and you lose motivation and stuff like that. I like to keep everybody on the up and up for the most part.
Definitely, man. So with all of that, bro, who is somebody that you emulate yourself after as far as quarterbacks?
Well, I've been told, I didn't realize this until recently, but I've been told that I'm not as big as him, obviously, but I emulate Josh Allen a little bit. I'm just a taller, thicker, just bulky white guy that can Josh Allen, he can run a little bit.
Yeah, Josh be getting down, man.
He can run, and he's got a big arm. But I think it's his playmaking ability that when the play breaks down, obviously you've got him, Patrick Mahomes, those are Aaron Rodgers even still. Those are the guys that you think of when you think of improvising. But I think that the Bills do some things with him like power run game and then RPO stuff and just play action stuff that we've really focused in on over the past probably 6 months. So we're trying to mirror some of the things that the Bills do with Josh Allen.
Yeah, for sure, bro. And I know this kind of a flip, man, but I just had to ask you this. You're getting married soon. I don't know how soon, but I know you recently engaged.
December 28th.
Okay, so you're getting married in December, man. So it's pretty soon, man.
Oh, yeah.
So with that, how has, your love life affected your maturity, just the way you view life, going into your next couple years of football and college and, just your maturity and just the way you view life, man?
Well, if I'm going to be completely, I had an interview a couple of weeks ago with some guys, and they were like, "Why did you stay at Mercer?" And I told them that it was great coaches. I wanted to improve at this school, but if I'm being completely honest, she was a huge reason why I stayed at Mercer. This was, I guess, a year and a half ago, but I knew back then that we'd only been dating for probably 6 months. But I knew that we were eventually going to get married, and I didn't want my short-term football career. Because, even if you play 10 years in the NFL, that's a long career. Mm-hmm. But for your whole life, hopefully, it's only this much.
Right.
So I didn't want to ruin what I had going on long term for a short term football decision. But Addie, her name's Addison Garman. I call her Addie.
Mm-hmm.
She's amazing. We met the first day of college. She had a friend, and her friend and a couple other people they met knew Ethan Durham, my roommate.
Okay.
So she came to my room by accident. Well, not by accident, but she wasn't coming to see me. She had no idea who I was. And we talked for a second, and then like over the next 6-9 months, we became close friends, and we finally started dating. But yeah, she's been a big part of that. I mean, just constantly reminding me like who I am is not in the game of football. Just because it's not going how I want it to doesn't mean anything's changed. She's definitely kept me rooted in the gospel, always reminding me of what my true purpose is, and that it's not in performance. But yeah, she's awesome to have. She actually graduated this past May, so she won't be here in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
But having her these past 2 years on campus has been good because, like, she's like, that sophomore year when I was benched and my attitude was not very good, she was the bright spot in my day.
Yeah.
And then last year, I was very positive on the football field, and she made that even better. So she's awesome. I'm very thankful for her. I'm gonna miss her this fall, obviously. But I'll just be focused on football, and when the wedding gets here, it gets here. But I can't really think about that too much until our football job is done.
Definitely, man. And one of the most beautiful things I heard you talk about was how she helped remind you of your purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that leads into my next question. What is your why? What is your purpose?
Yeah. Well, I think you can look at this from a worldly standpoint and a spiritual standpoint. Obviously, my worldly standpoint, my why, is my last name. I come from 2 very good parents, 4 very good grandparents. They raised me better than I couldn't ask for a better set of grandparents and parents. My mom and dad are awesome. Got 3 younger siblings at home, so they're my why. And obviously now Addie is my biggest why on this earth. I want to take care of her, spiritually guide her, stuff like that. But then you move on to the spiritual why, and it's having a positive impact on people, not only socially, but also spiritually. Like if somebody is feeling a lack of purpose, if they're feeling just like they're in this all by themselves, no one is meant to go through this life all by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what my Lord and Savior provides me. Jesus Christ is somebody who, even if football's not going well, or anything in life can go bad, that there's always that constant there. And that's really reassuring. And I guess I just want to show that to other people. And I feel like part of my story is me recovering from that, I guess, humbling of not playing, and I wasn't really showing that. But then last year, flipping the switch and becoming that light again for people to follow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Man, and that's great, man. And I honestly keep saying it comes from a lot of maturity and growth, bro, because we've came in to this thing together, man.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you can see it in me how we've just changed throughout the years, man, for the better. And just to see that you're here right now and able to tell your story, man. And obviously, this is not the end of either one of our stories, man. Our story is yet to be written.
Mm-hmm.
But just to hear that coming from you, bro, it just means a lot, man, honestly.
Good, man.
Yeah.
I remember you, just talking about you, you came in as, I remember it was just, everything was emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever your emotion was at the time, that's who you were.
Mm-hmm.
But now, as I've grown emotionally, you also have grown emotionally. And just because you're feeling one thing doesn't mean you got to show it or act upon it. You've I guess, grown into the ability of being able to internalize that and be able to control stuff.
Definitely.
Really, I remember, if you would get mad on the football field, the only thing you'd want to do is just run into the guy in front of you. But now you've learned that just because stuff is not hitting and you're not able to just gain as many yards as you can on a play doesn't mean that you just lose your mind and run into the guy in front of you. You can do so much more if you try to find another way instead of just beating your head in.
Mm-hmm.
So just seeing that emotional maturity out of you has been pretty cool too.
Man, I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate that. And so on this show, obviously, we like to tell people's story, but we also like to find ways to uplift people that are trying to be the best version of themselves. And that's really, yeah, exactly. That's the whole purpose of the show, you know, to uplift and unite those who want to be the best version of themselves and want to succeed, you know, want nothing but the best. And so with that, what is your advice for young people, old people? It doesn't really matter. Anybody that's just trying to reach the top, what is your advice for them?
Well, I would say that you've just got to stick with it. There's not an amount of education, experience. None of that can amount to the value of perseverance. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you're not willing to fight through something hard, that knowledge is useless. With anything that is difficult or hard to overcome, it's going to require time and effort. And those are two things that you only have a certain amount of time, but you can control your effort. So if you are stuck in a rut or you're feeling like you're not making progress, just stick with it, man. Like a lot of kids these days, especially in our world, when something doesn't work out, what do they want to do?
They want to quit or try to move on to something else.
They want
right?
to quit, they want to transfer, they want to do anything but stick with it. Mm-hmm. And I feel like if that's the common road, then I just want to do something different. And I felt like that when you choose to do something hard, the amount of maturity you gain from that is exponential. If everything's just easy, it's not going to be worth anything.
Right,
but if you fight for something, if you fight for something and you work hard at it, when you finally get it, it's going to be so much more gratifying. Mm-hmm. Like I forgot how valuable it was to say that I'm a starter because I was so used to it that it didn't mean anything to me. But now sitting here these last 2 years not playing anything, it was just like, wow, I really took that for granted. Mm-hmm. So I'm thankful for the spot I'm in and just pray for a healthy year for everybody so we can reach our full potential.
Definitely, brother, man. I appreciate you, bro. I mean, this is very last minute, man. You know, I feel like you really you didn't drop everything because you had to handle your business, man. You had meetings and stuff like that. We've been up since 5:30 this morning.
Just got this call about 3 hours ago.
I know, right? But man, I appreciate you, bro. I love you, man. Thank you for coming on to the show, bro.
For sure, man. Love you too.
For sure, bro.